It's a good Monday here on Locked On Vols. Still talking about that Tennessee win over number 3 Auburn here on the Monday show. Plus, just the tip of the iceberg. What a crazy week in college basketball. Weekend. How does that affect Tennessee's projections for the NCAA tournament? And Tennessee baseball, a monster sweep over Iona. All that and more going up here on a Monday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, good Monday, everybody, and welcome into Locked On Vols. This episode brought to you by BetOnline.net. It's got you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. Hey, everybody, I am Eric Cain, your host. And we got a lot to talk about here on this Monday morning. Want to appreciate and say thank you to all you guys who tuned in Saturday nights, maybe Sunday, did a little bonus episode. It's a little shorter, but a little post-game pod following that win over number 3 Auburn. If you didn't get a chance to check that out, go ahead. It's still up there. It's not going anywhere on YouTube. Just search Locked On Vols. Please subscribe there. By the way, sidebar, we are officially at halfway to the goal. It's a large goal, but I know that Tennessee fans can reach it. The goal on YouTube is 1,000 subscribers. We are officially just over 500. So thank you so much. Just a little over, let's call it about 5 weeks doing the show on YouTube. We've made ginormous strides. So thank you so much. If you haven't, please go ahead and subscribe there. But it's still there. It's still on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, all those places that you get your podcast. So go ahead and check it out for more in-depth and instant reactions on Tennessee basketball's win over number 3 Auburn. We'll talk about that a little bit more, dive into some more nitty-gritty, plus get into some other things in college basketball and Tennessee baseball. But thanks so much for tuning in. I wanted to get that out there. It was a huge win for Tennessee, so I know a lot of you guys were feeling it, and I wanted to get my instant thoughts out there as well. So Tennessee basketball, again, what's so great about this win was, that first half, it was really ugly. I mean, Tennessee basketball, kind of threw the first punch, right? It was leading, was it 18 to 11, but then it went through one of those lulls where it went without scoring with, over nearly 5 minutes, 4:43 is, I believe, that span that Tennessee basketball went without scoring. So it went from leading 18 to 11 to where Auburn went on a 15-1 run and down 26-19 with the blink of an eye, and so that was with just a little over 3 minutes left in the first half. Jabari Smith hit that three-pointer right before the halftime lead to give all the momentum to Auburn heading into the locker room. But Tennessee did, come back down 11 with a little over 16 minutes left in that basketball game. Tennessee went ahead and took advantage. Auburn went 9-22 without making a shot from the floor, while Tennessee tied the game at 39-all. And Zakai Ziegler had that three-pointer, and Tennessee started to pull ahead from there. Kennedy Chandler gave Tennessee the first lead since the 5:45 mark of that first half. He drove baseline, drew a goaltending call on Walker Kessler, who I thought was very ineffective in this basketball game. So Tennessee was up 43-41 with a little over 10 minutes to play. Then Tennessee really did take control of the game, went on a 10-2 run, put them ahead 60-49 with about 4:03 left to play. It had a sequence from Josiah Jordan-James, and then Ziegler and Vescovy fall through at the foul line as well. Auburn came back, came within 3, but Tennessee was able to pull away. And after scoring about 25 points in the first half for Tennessee, the Vols put up 42% in the second half on an Auburn team that led the SEC in field goal percentage at 38.2%. So Tennessee, it got punched early. It looked like it was one of those games where it was going to be a rock fight. But this time, Tennessee found a way to win, and Tennessee's offense finally broke through in a major way. So I mentioned about the board dominations, about how Tennessee just dominated the glass. The Volunteers won that battle. I think I can look right there. Tennessee won that battle 54-31. So 23 in favor of Tennessee, plus 23 in the rebounding battle. And that, again, is the major reason why Tennessee won this basketball game. Just bullied Auburn. And it wasn't one great post player. I talked about this on Saturday. It wasn't just Brandon Huntley-Hatfield, who had 5 of his 8 rebounds were on the offensive end. It wasn't just Uros Plavsic that added 7 rebounds. It wasn't just John Fulkerson who added 9 rebounds. It wasn't just Jonas Adu, who didn't play as many minutes as normally, but still had 5 rebounds in 8 minutes. It was all those guys, right? It was all those guys. Plus Josiah Jordan-James had 9 rebounds. I mean, it was a total team effort. And credit to Tennessee for dominating the boards and just really bullying up on a Walker Kessler and a Jabari Smith that we know, their reputations precede themselves. Jabari Smith was incredible, no doubt about it. He finished with 27 points, 9 of 21 from the field. His numbers got so much better as the game went on, but credit Tennessee for finding a way. Now, as I said on Saturday, there were some things that I didn't like in this basketball game, but I was going to wait to talk about it on a Monday show. Tennessee continues to struggle from the free throw line. 21 of 27. That's leaving 6 points out there, right? Tennessee won this basketball game by 5 points. Say it was on the other way around. Say Tennessee lost this game 67-62, and Tennessee still shot 21 of 27 from the charity stripe. Well, you point to that free throw struggles right there. Say you hit your free throws, Tennessee would have won that basketball game. Thankfully, Tennessee took care of business in the second half, played suffocating defense, and kept Auburn to a field goal percentage in the second half of 33%, right? And again, credit Tennessee for doing that, but you've got to do better at the free throw line. Kennedy Chandler, 3 of 6 from the free throw line. Just not good enough. Jonas Adu was 1 of 2 from the free throw line. John Fulkerson was 1 of 2 from the free throw line. Zakai Ziegler was 8 of 9, so he looked pretty good. Santiago Vescovi was 6 of 6, but really Kennedy Chandler, he's only shooting 64% at the line so far this season. That's just not good enough. It's not good enough for Tennessee, who expects to win these basketball games and is playing this point in time here in March. So you'd hope to see that would improve moving forward, but it seems like that's still going to be a bugaboo. And then nonetheless, it's just Tennessee still. My biggest concern is, can this offense travel? Tennessee plays great at home, 15-0. But in these games where Tennessee has to ugly them up, slow the pace down, foul an awful lot, make it a free throw battle, slow down the opposing offense. These games like Auburn was on Saturday. These games like Texas was, Texas Tech, Arkansas just last week. The offense didn't travel at all. Tennessee's offense finally got going in the second half, but it was at home. So basketball is a tournament sport. Okay, Tennessee's got 2 more games left. We'll be on the road at Georgia tomorrow. We'll have a full preview on Locked On Vols. And Tennessee comes back home against Arkansas. It's going to be a massive one. But from there on out, you're in Tampa, and then you're wherever you're placed in the NCAA tournament. Can Tennessee's offense travel? That has been a concern against really good opponents so far this season. Tennessee's offense did travel. I think it scored 70-something points and shot around 50% from the field against Kentucky, but you still got blown out. That was an outlier because Tennessee's defense didn't travel that game. But you know what you're going to get from your defense. You know Tennessee's defense is going to play lights out all game long typically. Can that offense travel? That is my concern. Can the offense travel, and can the free throw shooting, especially for Kennedy Chandler, who needs to be getting to the line even more than what he is right now, can that improve? Because that's how Tennessee is going to win these basketball games. Again, I went more in the numbers. I went more diagnostics immediately after the game. If you haven't listened to it, check out that bonus episode from Saturday nights. But the bigs are the reason Tennessee won this game. It's on the boards, rebounding, blowing them up. And then it was just a 4-player scoring in double figures, led by Santiago Vescovi with 14 points. You had Chandler with 13 points. You had Ziegler with 13 points, 11 of those in the second half. You had Josiah Jordan-James, who had 10 points and 9 rebounds, a rebound away from a double-double. Tennessee's ability to score from a couple different players. Nobody broke the bank here, but dominating the boards is why Tennessee was able to beat Auburn and take down one of those top 6 programs in the country that lost on Saturday. So more of my thoughts from Tennessee's win over number 3 Auburn. We will preview Georgia coming up tomorrow's show as Tennessee heads down to Athens to take down the Bulldogs for a midweek bout. All right, we will discuss more on college basketball here in segment number 2, how that might affect Tennessee moving forward. Don't forget to Twitter Tuesday. That's coming up tomorrow. Any questions, comments, concerns you want to make about the show, about Tennessee basketball, football, recruiting, all that and more, DM me at _Cainer, at Locked On Vols. Get your Twitter Tuesday questions in for tomorrow's show. All right, football might be over, but basketball, as you can tell, it is full steam ahead, both pro and in college hoops. From the latest odds, totals, player props, to where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is your number 1 spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. It's not just basketball or football. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, UFC odds, right to the Olympic coverage and information regarding those games. Head on over to the website or use your mobile device. Sign up today to find out all the trends and all the latest action. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. Segment 2 coming up here on Locked On Vols. I am your host, Eric Cain. Thanks so much for hanging out with me here today. It was a wild Saturday in college basketball, and I loved it. I sat down. Now, granted, I did Saturday Sports Talk from 9 to noon on Saturday morning. Then I immediately went over to Lindsey Nelson Stadium and covered a, wait for it, 29-0 Tennessee win over Iona, the Gales. And then I came back and I got to see most of the second half of Tennessee against Auburn here from my home office. So from there on out, though, I'll watch college basketball the rest of the night. I watched a ton of upsets, or I watched a bunch, 2 or 3 upsets happen all the way to the Gonzaga falling in the late night to St. Mary's. But Saturday is something historically that never happened. The top 6 teams in the AP poll all lost on Saturday. And of course, Tennessee was a big reason for that. One of the reasons for that, at least, taking down Auburn by a final score of 67-62. So let's go back and review here. Gonzaga, number 1 team in the country, fell to St. Mary's late in the night. Arizona, number 2 team in the country, lost. Auburn, number 3 team in the country, lost. Purdue, number 4 team in the country, lost to Michigan State. Kansas, number 5 team in the country, lost. Kentucky, number 6 team in the country, lost at Arkansas. Duke, the number 7 team in the country, won. Villanova, who's number 8, didn't play on Saturday, but Villanova lost on the midweek game, whether it was Tuesday or Wednesday, I can't remember. Texas Tech, the number 9 team, lost. And Baylor, the number 10 team, it actually won. So on Saturday, or at least in this week, rather, of the top 10 teams entering the week, only 2 of the teams won this week, went 2-0. That would be Duke, and that would be Baylor. So there's going to be some shuffling, or will there be shuffling? That's my biggest question. So depending on what time you're listening to this, if it's in the morning, the AP poll will come out here in a couple hours. If it's in the afternoon, if it's a day later, whatever, the AP poll is already out. But what's this new AP poll going to look like? You know, Joe Lunardi was quoted on one of the broadcasts. I believe it was during the Wisconsin game yesterday. I can't really remember. I was watching Wisconsin and Rutgers play. And he was saying, well, you know, one of 2 things. It can all shake up and it can be completely different. Or because all these teams are losing, it kind of resets, right? Like Gonzaga loses. Does that mean Arizona's going to jump Gonzaga? No, because Arizona lost. Does that mean Kansas is going to jump Arizona? No, Kansas lost. Does that mean Auburn's going to jump them? Well, no, Auburn lost. Does it mean Duke's going to go from number 7 to number 1? I don't know. I don't much believe that. I mean, again, that's a big old jump right there. And it's funny, Joe Lunardi also put out at some point on Saturday. It wasn't when all the games were over. It was when some of these night games are going on, because it's not updated, but because it says, you know, these teams in blue have a game right now or coming up later tonight. The teams in red lost today. The teams in green won. And, you know, he does this every Saturday. He releases his top 4 lines. He releases his bubble teams and, excuse me, the multi-bid conferences, that kind of list. And then on Tuesday, he releases his entire slate. So we'll have to see what happens here in a couple of days. But on Saturday night, before the Gonzaga game happened, while the Kansas game was going on, while the Arizona game was going on, he put out his top 4 seeds. So keep in mind, this is obviously going to change a little bit, but seed number 1, Gonzaga, Arizona, Kansas, and Auburn. All those teams stay the same. Auburn is still on that 1 line, despite the loss to Tennessee earlier in the week. The 2 line, these are the 2 seeds: Purdue, Duke, Kentucky, and Baylor. Baylor ended up winning that night, okay? But Purdue and Kentucky also lost, but they remained on that 2 line. The number 3 line, the 3 seeds: Villanova, Texas Tech, Tennessee, Wisconsin. Texas Tech lost on Saturday night, but they still remained on that 3 line. Tennessee and Wisconsin both won. Villanova was off, but it had lost earlier in the week. And the 4 line for the 4 seeds: Texas, Providence, UCLA, and Illinois. Illinois didn't play. Providence was yet to play. And You had Texas and UCLA that both won. So I'm really intrigued to see what this is going to look like. Again, you can kind of see from where he's making this out that just because Auburn lost, because Purdue also lost, I'm not really going to move Auburn, right? So if that's the same case, because the three teams in front of Auburn in that one line, since they all three lost, I don't believe much is going to change in Joe Lunardi's next bracket when he releases it here in a couple days. I don't believe Gonzaga, Arizona, Kansas are going to fall off that one line because Auburn lost on Saturday and Auburn's still up there. Purdue lost on Saturday and Purdue is still at that number one spot, the 5th overall seed, that number one spot on the 2nd seed line. So it'll be interesting. Seeing all these teams that are colored in here blue on his little release thing on Saturday, games that are happening now or have yet to be played coming up later tonight. Gonzaga, Arizona, Kansas, they all lost. Baylor, it won. Providence, it won as well. So it's just going to be kind of interesting. I don't think that there's going to be that much of a major shakeup because, again, they all lost in bunches. I mean, Duke's got to move up somewhere, right? Duke is that number 2 spot on the second line. Could it break through to the front line? I don't know. But could it flop Purdue? Potentially. Potentially it could. Something's got to shake here, whether, what the AP looks like, what the AP top 25, or what Joe Lunardi's next, brackets come out, what's it going to look like? So I'm interested to see there. He goes on the bubble, last 4 buys: North Carolina, Wake Forest, San Francisco, Michigan. Interesting. Last 4 in: Rutgers, Loyola Chicago, Indiana, and Memphis. First 4 out: SMU, San Diego, BYU, Oregon. Next 4 out: Virginia Tech, Florida, St. Bonaventure, and Dayton. So that's kind of what Joe Lunardi put out there Saturday night while games were still going on. Obviously, it wasn't very useful because so many teams lost in front of him, but that kind of just goes to show you what we might see as a predictor tomorrow when he puts his new one out. I think it's on Tuesday. Maybe it's Wednesday. I've been saying Tuesday this entire show. So if it's Wednesday, I do apologize. But since Gonzaga, Arizona, Kansas all lost, and Auburn lost too, but Auburn was still on that first line because he has Auburn here as a loss, I don't see how any of those teams can fall. I don't see how Duke can move up 2 spots up to that one line. Tennessee looks like it is firmly entrenched in that 3 seed line. Maybe it flip-flops to Texas Tech. Maybe it moves up to maybe that number 1 spot on the 3 line. I don't know. But Tennessee's gone from being on that 4 line to that 3 line, then moving up to the 3rd slot in that 3 line. I expected to move up a little bit more to be more entrenched in that 3 line. If Tennessee goes 2-0 this week, beats Georgia, which should happen, and beats Arkansas at home on Saturday, boy, it'll be tough to keep Tennessee off that 2 line, in my opinion. So, we'll kind of have to see. But just a wild day in college basketball. It's the first time ever that the top 6 teams in the Associated Press all lost on the same day. All lost on the same day. And Tennessee, again, played a part in that, knocking off the 3rd-ranked team in the land. That was Auburn. So fun day. If you're a college basketball fan, if you're a just a college sports fan in general, you probably liked an awful lot of that stuff that you saw. I sat down and I watched every single minute of that Gonzaga game. First time I got to watch Gonzaga all year, actually. Timmy, he missed like his first 8 shots of that basketball game. They played in St. Mary's Gym, which looks like a high school gym. It was wild. It was wild. It was fun times. It was a really, really good sports Saturday. We'll come back. We'll talk about more from sports that happened over the weekend. Tennessee baseball, a 3-0 sweep. They've improved to 7-0 on the young season. The 4th season in a row with Tony Vitello. They started at least with a 7-0 record. That is coming up here next. But first, it is Built Bar. Time of the year that you're focusing on getting right, losing some weight. Bathing suit season's just a couple of weeks, honestly. It's going to get up into the 70s a little this week here in East Tennessee, so that's going to be fun. But you've got spring breaks coming up. You've got those summer months. You got pool season, and you've got the beach season right around the way. Have you tried the new Puffs? If you haven't, you sure are missing out on some great tasting Built Bars. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy. They're marshmallowy. They're flat out just a great tasting protein bar, right? They're a treat and covered in 100% chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite with some incredible flavors. Yummy cinnamony, churro-y, coconut marshmallowy, banana cream pie. So good. All those E's at the end of it just make you really your mouth water, right? Where can you find those Puffs and the rest of the Built bars that come in about 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein? You can find all that, the Puffs, and all the selections at Built.com. Go to Built.com right now. Write Lock15 or use the promo code Lock15. You're going to get 50% off your order. Lock15, 15% off. That is at Built.com. One more segment here on a Monday Locked On Vols. Thanks so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen on anywhere you get your platform, anywhere you get your podcast, any platform you can possibly think of. And thanks for making Locked On Vols your first watch on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to the show there. I want to remind you guys that tomorrow is Twitter Tuesday. Get me in your Twitter Tuesday thoughts, comments, concerns, Tennessee football, basketball, recruiting, or just anything else. All right. A lot of you guys like to hear a little bit about baseball, so let's go ahead and talk into it, okay? Tennessee baseball, we'll ramp up that coverage, specifically when basketball season's over, but we'll sprinkle some baseball content in here right now. I'm covering baseball a little bit for VolQuest.com. You can check out my work there. I'm also going to call some of these games this year, so really looking forward to that. But just a dominating weekend for Tennessee baseball the last 3 days, and it came to a team that I believe is the worst baseball team in the country. I truly believe that. Iona is now 0-6 on the season. They lost this baseball series in 3 games. Tennessee outscored them 68-3. 68-3. A run rule had to be implemented for game 3 of the series. 10 runs after, what was it? 7 innings? 10-run lead after 7 innings, and the game was going to be over. College baseball doesn't have run rules, okay? It had to be implemented. Both coaches had to agree on it. The umpires, the game day officials, everybody had to come together and say, okay, it is what it is. Do we really want to sit here for another 4 hours? And believe me, it was every bit of 4 hours on Saturday. I was there. Goodness gracious. But a lot of good things to like. Trey Lipscomb was absolutely just phenomenal. Saturday's game, he hit for the cycle. He was 5 for 5. Let's see here. Let me pull up my stuff here. On Saturday, Friday, Drew Lipscomb, Tennessee's third baseman. He was 5 for 5, scored 3 runs, drove in 9 runs. 5 for 5 with 9 runs, including hitting for the cycle. Anytime you hit for the cycle, I mean, that's one of those things in baseball that's truly special because it doesn't happen all that time, right? Hitting for the cycle, winning the Triple Crown, stuff like that. That's really awesome stuff in baseball. So Trey Lipscomb hit for the cycle on Friday night, drove in 9 runs. Okay, Chase Burns, Tennessee's star freshman, pitched 5 innings, picked up the win, allowed 1 run. It was unearned. He struck out 4, walked 1. Tennessee baseball won 27-1, hit 4 home runs on Friday night. But the story was Tennessee's Trey Lipscomb hitting for the cycle and driving in 9 runs. We go to Saturday. Okay, this is a game I covered. Tennessee won 29-0. And oh wait, Trey Lipscomb almost hit for the cycle again. I mean, you have a guy that went 5 for 5, drove in 9, hit for the cycle on Friday night. You have a guy that finished 3 for 4, a home run, a single, a triple, 3 RBI, 2-run score, stolen bag, got lifted in the 5th inning for a pinch hitter. If he got 2 or 3 more ABs, maybe he hits for the cycle again. Put this into the contest. Trey Lipscomb almost hit for cycles in consecutive days. In all of college baseball history, to what we've looked up, everybody in the press box the other day, for context, there's always been 2 players that hit for 2 cycles in a single season in college baseball history. Both coming in 98. That was a weird year, right? 98. Derek Nicholson and Spencer Oborn. They accomplished that feat doing it twice in one season, while Trey Lipscomb nearly did it in back-to-back days. Just incredible. A tear that he went for 8 of his last 8 at one point in time this weekend. He was clearly the story of the weekend for Tennessee. But overall, again, in that game on Saturday, it was also impressive because you had Tennessee hitting 5 home runs. Every single home run Tennessee hit came with men on base. Tennessee scored 12 of its 29 runs with 2 outs on the scoreboard in that baseball game. And Chase Dolander, fantastic again. The former Georgia Southern hurler, 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, no runs, 10 strikeouts, 1 walks. The college baseball community is really coming together and seeing some great comparisons to the Mets of Jacob deGrom. It's pretty cool to see. So Tennessee 29-0 on Sunday or on Saturday against Iona, and then on Sunday Tennessee implemented that run rule. Whatever, they won 12-2 in 7 innings. It was Drew Beam, the freshman from Oakland High School. Excuse me, not was it Oakland? Crap, it's not Oakdale. It's not Oakland. Blackman. There we go. Blackman High School. The freshman from Blackman High School played quarterback. That's why I know it. Played quarterback for their football team. He got his first collegiate win, going 3 innings and a third. Give up 1 hit, no runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts. That was really good to see. Tennessee again hit 4 home runs on Sunday, and Tennessee winning 12-2. So again, Tennessee just did whatever it wanted to against Iona. The question was asked on the Vols podcast, me and Ben host, and I hope you check that out. You can get it on, just search Vols Podcast. It's in the Swain Event podcast feed as well as VolQuest podcast feed on Apple and on Spotify if you want to check it out. It's all baseball, all Tennessee baseball. We kind of asked the question, is Tennessee that good or is Iona that bad? I think it can be a little bit of both, right? Like, you feel confident about where Tennessee is. You feel confident about the depth and the options Tennessee has. But make no mistake about it, Iona is that bad. You win 27-1, 29-0, and 12-2 via a mercy rule game 3. You get outscored 68-3 on the weekend. No doubt about it. Iona is that bad. Any team in the SEC would put up an effort like Tennessee did or somewhere close to it against that ball club this weekend. So it was great to see. You padded the stats. Tennessee emptied the bench. Tony Vitello played everybody that was available, both arms in the bullpen, bench players, and they were coming in like the 4th and the 5th inning too, right? Lineup flexibility, tried a bunch of different stuff. This is what these preseason games are for. These games before, they're not preseason, but these games before the conference schedule takes off. But again, it was just, gosh, I hope Tennessee never plays a team like that again, because that team had no business being on the field with Tennessee. But it gets better this weekend. Tennessee heads on over to Houston to Minute Maid Park to take part in the Shriners Hospitals for Children College Classic. Tennessee will play Texas on Friday. Tennessee will play Baylor on Saturday, and Tennessee will play Oklahoma on Sunday. So Tennessee's going to learn a lot about Tennessee baseball this upcoming weekend, and hopefully we'll get a baseball guy on to preview that later in the week. But the Volunteers 7-0 on the young season. Pitching staff looks great. Bullpen looks great. The lineup looks awesome. It looks like this Tennessee baseball team is certainly just reloading and not rebuilding a year being removed from Omaha. That is going to do it here for a Monday edition of Locked On Vols. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Don't forget Twitter Tuesday coming up. Tomorrow's show. Please subscribe. Get me in your questions, your comments, your concerns, all that and more at _Cainer and at Locked On Vols. Check the show out on the audio platforms and on YouTube. And thanks so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen. Now, for your second listen, okay, Locked On the NFL Draft. Ryan Tracy, former NFL quarterback Eric Crocker. They bring the NFL Draft to life every day with insight and analysis on college football prospects, name, image, and likeness, front offices, all that and more. I said name, image, and likeness. There's a how do I explain this? There is my monitor is damaged, a streak. There we go. There's a streak on my monitor. It's NFL that's cutting out the F. I just assumed it was the I, right? It's an F. So it is college football prospects and NFL front offices, not name, image, and likeness. It's free and available anywhere you get your podcasts. Long story short, I'm an idiot, but check out Locked On NFL Draft to make that your second listen. All right, so hope you guys enjoyed a Monday show. We'll come back and be at it again for the rest of the week. If you haven't already, check out my bonus episode that was taped right after Tennessee's win over Auburn. That was on Saturday. Instant reactions, my thoughts, and we dove a whole lot more into the numbers. That is up on the feeds as well. Guys, I appreciate it. Thanks so much, and enjoy the rest of your Monday, everybody.